coming up with all the ideas for this show? I just want to know more about that.
The biggest idea and the biggest discussion we had in developing is trying to figure out how to make it not suck, basically. It's really hard when you're taking, the process basically was we took the Japanese footage that we had, we stripped everything that might look Asian or Japanese or like it was from Tokyo or something like that. We stripped all of that away, and then we would hand that to the writers, and with a story in mind, they'd write a story surrounding the footage. So the process was basically we'd cut the footage, we'd send it to the writer, we'd get a script back, and then these guys would then they'd shoot it. And then we go back and try to fix all the problems that we created with the original script and try to make it all match later in a process called ADR, which is the same thing you do in anime, that sort of thing. So it was a kind of a group effort. I mean, there was a lot of us involved. There was a lot of us involved, and a lot of meetings. I think I wrote the Day of the Dumpster. I think it was 15 drafts. I think is where we ended up, 15 or 16 is by the time. And then after we shot it, we rewrote it again and shot it one more time, and that's what you guys saw. So it was quite a lengthy process. We started in I think it was June of '92. Working on it, and it was a year and a half later when it finally aired. So it was quite a long time.
The other part of the process that he didn't mention is the original pilot had I had another Yellow Ranger in it who had other endeavors, and Tweet came in, and we love Tweet. So the fight scenes originally were hardcore. You remember that in the bowling alley? I mean, full on. But what you guys saw.
It's aired once.
Never mind. If you guys just listen to me, we'd be fine.
But one of the things that he said is that when we were showing the show to the pilot to the network, they were loving it. I mean, they'd already decided to buy the show at that point. But when they were just enthralled, and Zach is going through the and the fight starts, and we see Austin kind of come right towards Bulk and do this just mean roundhouse that just would have taken his head off in real life. And that's when the network kind of went, oh God, we got to fix this. So that's why it got a little more benign.
I was like, no, don't take my fun.
All right, let's give the guy the leather jacket. He's been had his hand up for 3 years. Yo! I'll wait for the mic.
Wait for it.
I love the show since the beginning. I got out of the hospital after anorexia, and I watched it from day one. I met actually Narvi once right before I shipped out to boot camp for the Navy back in '98.
Well, those are some memories you wanted. You locked away on the ship for 6 months.
Actually, I had to get out because of budget cuts. I was a cryptologist technician. They see President.
Where did we meet?
Simi Valley, right at that Ross parking lot. You know?
She was one of those meetings.
Oh yeah! Yeah, I'll be right there. I got
Well, I want to say that, have any of you guys ever looked at like Yahoo groups where like a lot of people have done role-playing games based off of the show and made their own history with it?
No. Nobody knew there was role-playing games in Power Rangers.
I'm kind of scared, actually.
Except for you guys. I don't think we've known that kind of stuff.
Well, we can tell you about some private drinking games, but then we'd get in trouble. I can't tell you that there were some Power Ranger drinking games, but there weren't any cameras around for those.
Let's get somebody over on this side. We've been ignored. How about you in the purple?
Did you guys pull any pranks on each other?
All the time.
Yeah, that was pretty much a living.
Here's a great one for Paul and Steve. This wasn't an on-set prank, but we were in Australia, and it was Christmas Eve, I think.
Oh no.
And we called to do our first radio interview. Now, he was still kind of the new guy at this point, okay? So he'd never done a radio interview, okay? It was me and Paul Schreier and Steve, and I think we probably hit the bar first. And then we went to Midnight Mass afterwards, What a full night that was. And they asked us, all kinds of questions. So is it fun to do the show? And Paulie and I, before Steve could open his lips and be like, oh yeah, it was great, we had a great time. So when they asked us the really hard question, which is, do you think the show's too violent for kids? That's always been a tough one, and we knew that one like the Nuremberg check, We find that it is the responsibility of the parents to not know what the children watch. But as soon as they ask us, is it too violent for kids, we go, Steve?
Without being prepped, like as to what I should have said, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I said. But basically, they definitely put me on the spot on that one. I'm gonna have to get you back for that. Thanks for reminding me.
Remember, Jason, Frank, and we had a pretty good prank on David Yost. And we actually got in trouble by the producers and I think the director and the first AD and the second AD and the PAs and I'm sure my mom was, I think my mom got a phone call too. But, Jason, Frank and I were hanging out and for some reason we decided to pick on David Yost. He was sleeping. Mistake number one. Mistake number two, he didn't lock the door to his dressing room. And mistake number three, there was a permanent Sharpie. So, we, at first, a very discreet, ninja-like fashion, snuck in, and inches from his face, I won't tell you what we wrote, inches from his face, he wakes up. And at this point, it became like Chinese torture because then we just sat on him, held him down, and did it anyway. And took turns, lots of symbols. And he didn't talk to us for a while, I can tell you.
I do remember there were a ton of pranks pulled, and some of them we can't mention, but Jason Frank he instigated a lot of it. But I do remember that he never knew when to stop.
There's a certain line.
Or when to let people in on that it was a joke. Like I remember in Australia, he just pissed people off. Like he would take a little water in his hand, he'd walk by and he'd sneeze on them. And he'd go, oh, sorry. And it wasn't like, it was water, after it was like, sorry. And he would just keep doing it. People would be so pissed off. And I remember though, Jason ended up picking on Steve a lot. Because Steve was always asleep. Right before we started shooting.
Mistake number one, don't go to sleep, man. We know where to find you.